Good evening, reaching you live from Nigeria's capital. This is the 6th edition on News Central. I am Chisom Okafor, and let's begin. Here are the top stories at this hour. Trial of suspects stalled after 7th and 8th defendants appear without legal representation. Bauchi Governor Mohammed cries out, says security overwhelmed by forest bandits. The Taliban claims 55 Pakistani dead amid widespread airstrikes. Details on this and more in a moment. Proceedings in the trial of 9 suspects accused over the June 13, 2025 Yelwata attack was stalled after the 7th and 8th defendants appeared in court without legal representation. At the start of the hearing, counsel for all parties announced appearances except for 2 defendants. When questioned by the court, they stated that they were being represented by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ibrahim Angulu, who is counsel to the first defendant. However, Angulu informed the court that he had earlier received a message debriefing him from representing the 2 defendants and had applied to withdraw from the case. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik declined the application to withdraw after the defendants denied sending any such message and directed that the senior lawyer continue to represent them. The court also ordered the Nigeria Correctional Service to grant him access to the defendants for proper consultation. The matter was consequently adjourned to the 4th of March for continuation of trial and hearing of other pending applications.
The request we made today was that the first defendant who has suffered stroke should be referred to a specialist so that he will be treated and continue to stand trial. So the court was of the opinion that we should make it at the next adjourned date by way of motion. So we will comply. We will make the same application so that he was referred to a specialist, because you have to be fit and alive to stand trial.
Now to the Middle Belt. The Middle Belt has witnessed a sharp surge in lethality, with 2025 fatalities already exceeding the total for 2024. Violence has shifted from seasonal clashes to high-frequency coordinated massacres. Benue leads Middle Belt fatalities with over 6,896 deaths from systematic raids. Plateau follows with 2,630, while Niger and Kaduna recorded over 1,750 combined deaths from banditry and communal clashes. Recent massacres devastated Kwande and Apa local government areas. In Kwara, 160 persons were slaughtered for resisting ISIS-affiliated Lakwara militants. Meanwhile, Mango and Bakin Ladi remain volatile, with many villages deserted. Over 600,000 persons are displaced across the North Central region. Benue alone hosts over 510,000 IDPs, while 220 villages in Benue and Plateau remain sacked and occupied by armed groups. The conflict has evolved into a triple threat. Militant headers conduct night raids, bandits impose farming taxes for ransom, and terrorist affiliates like Lakwara seek territorial and ideological control. And joining us virtually to discuss this even further is Frank Uto, a lawyer, humanitarian, media relations officer for Equipping the Persecuted and a native of Yelwata. Hello, Frank. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon from here, or rather, good morning.
Whichever one. It's good to have you. So yesterday, Frank, when you joined, we had quite little time to have the conversation. So I'm very happy that you could make it back for us to sort of get more insight on this. And talking about yesterday, you did mention that you presented an intelligence report before the attack in Yelwata. Now, can you tell us, where you presented this and to whom that you presented it to?
Okay, very good. So we presented to the security forces, starting from the detachment of soldiers in Yelwata and the police in Yelwata, and to the government, the government of both Benue State and Plateau State, and Nasarawa State, rather. These are things that we've been doing constantly. Let me tell you, my sister, You see, when they talk about these attacks and they talk about them like there are some kind of attacks being conducted by spirit, some of us begin to nod our head because these are people we know very well. We know when they hold their meetings. We know when they are recruiting. We were able to mention all those things when they were recruiting people in Agaragu and Kadorku in Nasarawa State. They were giving people 50,000 naira, the recruits. And they were promising 100,000 naira per kill.
Can you tell us who is they? Can you hear me?
Okay.
You said they were recruiting. Can you tell us who is they?
No, let me tell you very clearly.
Yes.
Very, very clearly. You see the guy you displayed on your TV, the guy with the clutches, working on the clutches. That's Abdul Lawal Mohammed Dano, the chairman of Mayati Allah of Nasarawa State, based in Lafia, with his other Abduls, including the chief of Kadorko, Usman Dodo, including the chief of Agaragu, the chief of Giza, the chief of Kwara. These were the chiefs that were organizing money and they were getting money, sourcing money from. They know where they have somewhere at the top where they source from much of these monies. These were the guys, and National State has a question to answer. And every time when they arrest many of these chiefs, especially the chief of Giza and the chief of Adudu and the chief of Karoko, the National State Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs bail them out at every time. So the guy that was displayed on your screen, the guy of clutches, is the mastermind. I know him physically. We held a meeting twice with him when I was serving as a principal special assistant in the government of Samuel Otom. We held a meeting in my community in Yerwata, meeting between my people of Benue and people of Nasarawa over the killings of our people. And the guy was just giving us some kind of very funny.
So when you say you held a meeting with him, in what capacity? As a terrorist? In what capacity did you hold a meeting with him?
No, okay. The meeting was this around in 2020, in the height of coronavirus in May 2020, and in 2021 we held a meeting at Yerwata. I was part of Benue State government delegation of Benue State when we were seeking for peace with Nasarawa State over, because Nasarawa State has been a sanctuary for these guys. So we're trying to create a pathway to peace. So the guy was part of the delegation that time from Nasarawa. He was coming as the chairman of Mayati Allah Cattle Breeders in Nasarawa State. And they were giving us very funny excuses of saying they need the land for grazing, our people have to share the land, this and that. These guys are not indigenous to our area. You don't give us conditions for the usage of our land. In Benue State, we have the open grazing prohibition law. The way we go to Kanu or Sokoto and observe the Sharia law by not drinking publicly is how we also expected them, because unlike the Sharia law that is even a violation of the Constitution, Section 10 of the Constitution, that says the government of the Federation or any of the states shall not declare any religion as a state religion, land matters are exclusively in the hands of the governor of a state and by the Land Use Act. And when the Benue State government, through the instrumentality of the congregation of the people of Benue State, there's no law in the history of Benue State that was agreed upon like the open grazing prohibition law by the people of Benue State. They sat down to draft for themselves that law to say, look, these guys have been using the smoke screen of grazing to kill our people. So let's create this. Let them adopt the best method of animal husbandry by ranching their cow, so that whatever happened, we know that, okay, these are not the guys. But they refused. Today,
are you saying that,
I speak to you.
Are you saying that the way it happened in Yawata is the same way it happened in Kwande and in upper local government areas? Are you saying it's the same people and like coordinated attacks as such?
It is the same people. They have a central command. You see that Garba, the lower Mohammed Dano. He is the same person who has been coordinating the attack in Agatu, in Ohimini, in Gwe West, in Guma, all the way to Logo local government and Buruku local government of Benue State. Because it's a central command structure by this Mayati Allah. That is the guy now on your TV. Yes, this guy on clutches. I know him very well. That's Abdul Lawal Mohammed Dalo. Now, that is why we called on the United States Congress to designate these guys as a terrorist organization. And the US carried out their investigation. And when the US wants to carry out the investigation, you know what that means. They will deploy every means possible, technology and intelligence. And they found out that these guys are terrorists. And they designated them in the bill introduced 2 weeks ago on the floor of the House by Senate man Riley Moore and Chris Smith, the chairman of African Subcommittee. In that bill, that's the title of the bill is Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act. They designated Mayat Allah as a global terrorist organization. And by the time that bill passes, which we're going to make our presentation during the public hearing, by the time it passes, these guys will be designated global terrorists and they'll be arrested anywhere outside Nigeria. Any of America's allies that is a party to Global Magnitsky Act in America.
Yes.
Just like the way they deported Sheikh Gumi in Saudi Arabia, these guys, if any of them dare go to Mecca for Hajj, they'll be arrested by the Saudi Arabia authority and transported to the United States for trial.
So let's talk about names.
Are terrorists. Let's tell ourselves.
Frank, let's talk about names now. Earlier on, you said you presented your intelligence report before the attack on Yawata to government agencies in Nasarawa State and in Benue State before it happened. Is it possible to give us names on who received this intelligence report?
Okay, so we submitted to the guys in Yerota, the soldiers that were in Yerota at that point, and to the police. And let me tell you something. Look, the day they were coming, we knew they were coming. Even some of the civilian volunteer guards we have around our communities, we are ready to resist them with their local tools. But unfortunately, it rained that night. A lot of people thought that the whole mission was aborted because it rained that night. So everybody went back to their homes. And that was how they came. These are things that we know every time. We know this. So we pass it around this information every time to these security agencies. And you could
say you knew they were coming.
The governor of Nasarawa State even attested to this.
Yes.
That he got the information and he passed it to the governor of Benue State. Yet nothing happened. So these are not secret. These are things that happen almost open. The only thing that is secretive about this is the execution of the act. But these traces are not secret. Their meetings are not altogether secret. And let me tell you, anywhere you see 2 or 3, I'm sorry, it's not a stereotype, but it's a statement of fact. Anywhere you see 2 or 3 of these cattle Fulani headers meeting, know that there's something very sinister about that. Anytime, anywhere, you see 2 or 3 of them gathered for a meeting, there's something sinister about it, especially these members of Mayat Allah Ketu Kautahori.
All right, Frank. So we're going to continue on this. We're going to talk about a shift in the recent attacks. We've seen it happen mostly in the northernmost part of Nigeria, and now it seems to be being centralized in the middle belt. We're going to speak more on that. I'm going to get your thoughts on that. But we're going to go on a quick break now. When we return, of course, we'll continue the conversation and, of course, more details. Do stay with us. Well, thank you for being there. I've been speaking with Frank Uto. He is a lawyer, humanitarian, media relations officer for Equipping the Persecuted and a native of Yawata. He joined me yesterday, but now we're having a more in-depth conversation on the issues, not just facing Yawata, but the middle belt in total. Thank you again, Frank, for joining. Now, before we wrap it up, do you believe there's been a shift in the recent attacks from the northernmost part? Because you've mentioned these entities. You also mentioned that you believe that these people that are carrying out or that have carried out this attack in Yawata are the same people that have carried out the attacks in other parts of Benue State. Now, let's talk about the shift in these recent attacks from the northernmost part to the north central or middle belt. What do you have to say about that, especially the entities and all of the controversy surrounding it?
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Look, there's an underlying philosophy behind the Christmas Day attack in Sokoto. There's a silent but salient message behind that attack, because that place, that axis, serves as the seat of the command structure of what is happening in most of these other places. That is the truth of the matter. So these guys are so well organized. they have a command structure and hierarchy of commands that is like in the military. These guys are in charge of this place. This guy are in charge of that axis. So altogether, ultimately, they are the same people carrying out the same agenda that is spiraling down from Sokoto downwards, with the center of gravity being Benue State and the Middle Belt. It's a silent.
The recent attacks in Ondo State. Ondo State. Do you also believe it's the same? Do you also believe it's the same thing being carried out in Ondo State as well, in the southwest?
Very, very well, very well. Because altogether, there are different terrorist organizations in Nigeria carrying out the same agenda. Unfortunately, Nigeria is the number 5th in the whole world with the highest number of Islamist terrorist organizations, only surpassed by Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Somalia, and then Nigeria. So in Africa, Nigeria is number 2, the country with the highest number of terrorist organizations. You see, we have ISWAP in Nigeria. We have Boko Haram. We have Ansaru. We have Lakurawa. We have the most vicious, the most deadly terrorist organization, the Fulani ethnic militia. So altogether, these guys are carrying out the same agenda. So it is these guys that have stretched all the way to Ondo State, to even Edo, Delta, the forest in the east, and everywhere. But like everybody knows, the center of gravity is the Middle Belt, because the Middle Belt, like its name, is the belt that has held Nigeria together, and Benue is the buckle of that belt, is the head of that belt, and that is why Benue at every time becomes their center of attraction. Because of course we stopped the jihad of 1804, we stopped the jihad, and so they are continuing from that. Let's not tell ourselves the truth. And for many who may want to challenge us that, oh no, it's not an Islamist genocide, it's not there's nothing like that. Let me ask you something. Look, my sister, I keep telling people, everybody who knows me knows my mom is a Muslim. I don't have anything against Muslims, but what we're saying that is happening in Nigeria is that Islamist terrorism is going on against, most especially, Christians. If they want to contest this, ask them these questions. We have over 1,000 IDP camps across Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, especially southern axis of Nasarawa, where the thieves are, up to Niger and Kwara.
Yes.
Tell me which of these Fulani groups at any time, or Islamist groups at any time, has gone to this IDP camp to give zakat. Zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. If you look at the pillars of Islam, the first is Shahada, which is a declaration of faith. That is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. There's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet.
Okay.
That's the first. Then there is the Ramadan, which is going on right now. Then there's the 5 prayers a day, which of course we know most Muslims carry out.
Yes, of course.
Then there is the zakat, alms giving. So if you want to display alms giving, the best place so far in Nigeria is IDP camp. Tell me one Islamist Islamist group, group.
All right, Frank.
That's ever gone to the IDP camp to give alms.
Frank,
you have Christian bodies in Muslim states giving alms, Christian organizations and international Christian organizations like even the Red Cross giving alms. None, because it's an agenda.
All right, Frank, we have to
getting our people suffer.
We have to wrap up now, Frank. Thank you so much again for taking out the time. We've been speaking to Frank Otor. Joined us yesterday, joined us today again, a lawyer, humanitarian, media relations officer for equipping the persecuted and a native of Yawata. Thank you for taking out the time. We'll keep following up on the trial. And then, of course, hopefully we can keep coming back to you to get more insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll go on a break now. When we come back, we'll go to the High Court and get more details on what has been happening today. Do stay with us. Now, before we go to the Federal High Court, let's go to the Oyo State High Court in Ibadan that has upheld the validity of the 2025 People's Democratic Party Convention held November 15 and 16 in the state capital. Justice Ladiron Akintola delivered the ruling on Friday while determining an application for joinder. The court dismissed motions seeking for a stay of proceedings filed by Nwachukwu and others and granted the 13 reliefs sought by the claimant, Folahan Malamo Adelabi. The judgment affirms the Dr. Taminu Turaki-led National Working Committee elected at the convention. Now, to join me to talk about this and to also understand what this means and the way forward, I have Jungodo Mohammed, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Joins me to discuss this further. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Very good to have you.
It's
Now,
my pleasure.
I have to say congratulations first on the ruling. Congratulations are in order.
No. For what?
All right, so what does this mean now? What happens now? Because it seems this is very much far from over.
Well, there is nothing new as far as we are concerned with this development coming out from Oyo. It is something that is expected. Recall that when Justice Lifu and Justice Omotosho restrained and ordered PDP not to proceed with that convention, the Damagun and his co-travelers went for forum shopping in the Oyo State High Court, where they got an interim order to proceed with that convention. But, INEC, as a federal government agency, challenged the jurisdiction of that suit before the court. And eventually, the court agreed and struck out the name of INEC, as against striking out the entire suit. So for us, we only see this suit and the outcome of that suit as mere academic exercise. Because INEC, as the regulatory body over all political parties who were earlier joined in the suit, were later removed from that suit. The implication is that whatever judgment, whatever orders that comes out from that judgment is not, cannot, and can never be binding on INEC. And INEC had since the outcome of Justice Omotosho and Lifu's judgment and the subsequent Federal High Court Ibadan judgment, INEC had complied. First, they refused to honor, monitor, and recognize anything from that convention. And then, coming out from the Federal High Court Ibadan, which the Kabiru Tanimu group went for forum shopping again, having realized that the one at the Oyo State High Court has become mere academic exercise, they moved to Federal High Court Ibadan to seek an order of mandamus that will compel INEC to recognize that convention. So the court, having realized all the facts placed before her, dismissed their request and instead mandated INEC to recognize the National Caretaker Committee of the PDP and further restrain Kabiru Tanimu Traki from parading themselves as national officers of the party. So the implication of all this judgment that came out from Oyo State High Court is that INEC will never look at that judgment. INEC will never give 1 second. If they like, let them pack such kind of judgment, full trailer load of Dangote, and park in front of INEC. INEC will never look at that.
And you're saying this because of the federal judgment you already have? I mean, there's a federal high court judgment. Federal court judgment.
That federal high court judgment was in our favor.
That's what I'm saying. So you're saying it because of that. But there are other 8 other appeals in the Court of Appeal.
Well, until the
from both sides.
It was 9 appeals. Until that appeal is determined, the subsisting and binding order on INEC is to recognize the Abdurrahman and Anyanwu-led leadership as the authentic leadership of the PDP, and they have since complied with that order. So there is no cause, nothing to worry about. So
this is to say that the convention that is coming up in March is going on?
No, very, very sure. We've reached advanced stage. It's sacrosanct, 29/30th. This judgment is not going to affect anything. It is academic. It is not changing any status quo. It is of no effect. It is of no moment. It is as good as what when you go for a program and they say there's an after party. This is just an after party. This is just a wish of a dying man.
But if I understand what you're saying, but if you do, like you already mentioned, 9 appeals in the Court of Appeal, that we do not know when that is going to be looked at, if it's going to be before the convention. Isn't that going to affect the party?
Well, it is not for me.
Because we do not know which side is going to...
No, the judgment that INEC is recognizing is that which came out from Justice Uche's court, Federal High Court, Ibadan. And until they have a contrary a judgment, they will comply with that. And I can tell you that if it is based on facts that we know, we do not see how the Court of Appeal will depart from the decisions of the lower court. Recall that this judge, the Ibadan judge, sat on 2 appeals, giving judgment against judgments that were earlier delivered by courts of coordinate jurisdiction. He ought to have declined jurisdiction, knowing fully that these judgments, there are judgments that emanated from courts, federal high courts, earlier before the suit was brought before him. And at this point, it becomes necessary that the NJC takes serious action and sanction this Justice Akintola. You cannot sit on 2 appeals. You cannot, as a judge.
Now, let's ask, with this ongoing factional battles and 2027 general elections very, very near, right? Now, will Nigerians see a PDP that is ready for the general elections?
The truth of the matter is there is nothing called faction. When you say that there are aggrieved people, it is okay. It is normal to have aggrieved persons even within your own family. But faction, it is only INEC and the court that can decide if there is a faction or not. And they have all decided there is no faction.
So is the PDP ready? Would Nigerians see a PDP that is ready?
Very well.
Given what is happening?
By next week, we will conduct our congresses in the states where the court has ordered the PDP to carry out congresses before proceeding with a convention. We will comply with that section of that order, and then 29th, 30th, you too shall be there in Abuja to witness our national convention in preparation to field incredible candidates across all political offices, across all elective offices in the country, including that of the president.
I guess that remains to be seen. We'll see how that goes. Thank you so much. I've been speaking to Jungodo Mohammed, the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Thank you for taking out the time. And like I said, I guess we shall see how that goes.
Thank you very much.
Now, still on politics, Governor Amhadu Fintiri of Adamawa State has defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. Governor Fintiri, while defecting alongside all members of his cabinet, says that the decision was made after very thoughtful consideration and in the interest of residents of the state. He says during a statewide broadcast that a move will guarantee the long-term prosperity, development, and stability of the state.
After wide consultation with a large spectrum of our people, we have resolved to politically align Adamawa State with the All Progressive Congress, APC. This alignment will enable Adamawa to effectively support and leverage the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, GCFR, which aims to transform the nation in critical sectors, including social welfare, infrastructure, housing, and inclusive economic development. The decision to leave the PDP and join the APC was not taken lightly. It was not driven by personal ambition nor by convenience. It was guided by one overriding consideration: the long-term stability, development, and prosperity of Adamawa State.
And so even more electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission has revised the timetable for Nigeria's 2027 general polls. Presidential and National Assembly elections will now hold on January 16, 2027, moved forward from February. Governorship and state assembly elections are now rescheduled for February 6, 2027, earlier than the original March timeline. INEC says the changes aim to ensure a smooth and well-organized electoral process. Party primaries will run from April 23rd to May 30th, 2026. Presidential and National Assembly campaigns start August 19, 2026, while governorship and state assembly campaigns begin September 9th, 2026. By law, all campaigns must end 24 hours before Election Day. Now, still on INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is deepening collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme as part of efforts to ensure a hitch-free and transparent 2027 general elections. At a strategic meeting in Abuja, both institutions reaffirmed their commitment to credible, inclusive, and technology-driven polls. Our correspondent, Blessing Akibe, compiled this report.
As Nigeria prepares for the 2027 general elections, the focus is shifting beyond voting to strengthening trust, improving systems, and ensuring that every eligible citizen is carried along. At INEC headquarters in Abuja, electoral stakeholders and development partners meet to reinforce transparency through technology while prioritizing exclusivity as a key pillar of credible elections.
It is important not just to build capacity for fair and free election. It is also important to ensure that the elections are credible because of the link between election and development. We will want to intensify and partner more on the areas of voters' education, which is one area of your core mandates, so that you can share your experiences.
Over the years, we've worked together to ensure that there's more inclusion from the youth and gender point of view. Over the years, we've been supporting you as well with voter education, institutional strengthening, and sometimes embedding technical capacity also within to support you.
Beyond technology, inclusivity featured prominently in the discussions. The Commission says it continues to expand access for persons with disabilities through Braille ballot guides and magnifying glasses, while also prioritizing gender inclusion and youth participation.
During the last election and at every election, we have Braille to assist the blind. We also have some very strong antique glasses to assist the albinos. And so many more. We partner sometimes with South Africa to help us with some of this.
For us, election also is part of development process. Election is part of participatory process that make society to move forward. We have been supporting young people to participate. We have been supporting women to participate. We have been supporting people with disability, because everything we do is founded in a principle we call leave no one behind.
With this renewed collaboration, both parties say they remain committed to strengthening transparency, inclusivity, and public confidence.
Now, the Arewa Grassroots Leaders Assembly has held a solidarity protest at the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Abuja in support of the Commission's recent reforms. The group says that improvements in election technology and result management by INEC have strengthened transparency and public confidence. They describe the innovations as critical to electoral integrity and urge the Commission not to relent in consolidating ongoing reforms.
Electoral reform is not an event, it is a journey. We urge the chairman and the commission to, by the grace of God and as a matter of fact, consolidate on the gains recorded, strengthen result management system, expand technology deployment, deepen staff training, continue stakeholders' openness, and last but not the least, to collaborate with relevant stakeholders to establish a backup network for transmitting and collecting results in areas with limited or no network coverage.
I am assuring Nigerians through you that we will continue to ensure that we do what is possible to give Nigerians, and indeed the world, fair, free, credible, inclusive, and more importantly, credible and acceptable elections at all times.
Now, the National Board for Technological Incubation has formally unveiled the Next Gen Innovation Challenge 2026, a global initiative created to accelerate groundbreaking ideas and translate them into measurable economic growth. At a press briefing in Abuja, the Director General of NBTI, Raji Kolawole, says that the initiative will be gender inclusive and will focus on accelerating the commercialization of indigenous technological innovations. He also emphasized the federal government's resolve to back and adequately fund indigenous technological innovations, reducing dependence on more advanced nations for solutions.
The next Gen 2026 will prioritize high-impact innovations with minimum viable products, featured defining sectors critical to national and global development in artificial intelligence and robotics. Our strategic objective, the overarching goals of Next Gen 2026 are to mobilize significant domestic and international capital, just like I said before, move innovators beyond pitch deck to market-ready products, institutionalize Next Gen as a year-round innovation platform, create structured mentorship and incubation pipelines, enough of just all our prototype ending in the shelves. We must move this prototype to commercializable hands.
Now, stakeholders in Abuja have begun fresh consultations to tackle the growing waste management crisis in the Federal Capital Territory. At a multi-sector engagement convened by environmental advocates and development partners, government agencies, private sector players, and civil society groups, they all agreed on the need for a long-term investment-driven roadmap to transform the city's waste system. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, filed this report.
Abuja's mounting waste crisis, especially in satellite communities, has been a challenge, causing discomfort like environmental pollution and, in most cases, blocking parts of major roads. In an effort to tackle this challenge, key actors converged on the capital to assess gaps and proffer solutions.
We sincerely feel that a city like this needs a proper waste recycling system. And it is not just for the purpose of that, but it is going to be an economic chain, an economic value chain, where it can create employment and also generate revenue for the city. We are going to be discussing some of the challenges, but the concept is to bring us together to discuss the waste challenges in the FCT.
There is concern over resident dependence on informal waste collectors, popularly known as Babambola.
Places like Nanya, 4 to 500, when they come to evacuate your waste to clean. The challenge is this: that where do Babambola take your waste to? I'm assuring you that this is one of the things that is accounting for indiscriminate disposals of waste.
Stakeholders say their strategy is to hold a series of consultations, engage communities and local councils, and then stitch a practical roadmap for sustainable waste management.
We're also going to be looking at what are the policies, and that's why we are glad the APB is here. What is the policy in terms of waste management in the FCT? We're also going to be looking at the satellite towns. How are the waste in the satellite towns managed? And we're also going to bring the youth into the loop.
Infrastructure. Stakeholders say there is a need for behavioral change, youth engagement, school-based awareness, and stronger collaboration with agencies like the National Orientation Agency. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Now we'll take a moment. When we come back, we're going to be leaving the shores of Nigeria to stay with us. Now we'll go to Libya, where the Libyan Red Crescent workers have recovered 7 bodies, including 3 children, from a beach in Casa al-Kaya. The victims were sub-Saharan migrants attempting a dangerous journey to Europe. Located east of Tripoli, the area is a major transit point. Officials fear more bodies remain missing as searches continue along the coastline following this latest tragedy. Last year, over 2,100 migrants died or disappeared in the Mediterranean. This incident highlights the ongoing risks faced by thousands seeking safety through irregular maritime routes.
وردنا بلاغ من مركز شرطة غنيمة بأن هناك جثمان من على شواطئ غنيمة، وبالفور تحركنا عند الساعة 10 ليلا من انتشال الجثة من على شواطئ منطقة غنيمة.
Now we now turn to growing concerns across Africa over how foreign aid and investment, particularly from the United States, may be shaping the continent's sovereignty and economic future. This week, Zambia, Zimbabwe made headlines after rejecting U.S. healthcare funding, citing conditions that required sharing citizens' health data and granting access to critical minerals. In Kenya, similar agreements with foreign donors have also raised questions about sovereignty and control of national resources. News Central's Bongani Siziba tells us more.
Development have sparked debates within the global health community as the issue extends beyond aid. Critics argue that financial assistance is sometimes used not just to support development, but to advance strategic interests. While such funding is often presented as development support, concerns persist that some agreements come with conditions that may compromise national sovereignty.
A number of countries in the region have signed them. The work that needs to happen is to understand and unpack what those agreements really look like. And, in Kenya, there's been a challenge in the constitutional courts. We need to see what happens with that. What is it revealing about what is the actual aspects of what's supposed to happen with this data?
Zimbabwe's rejection of U.S. healthcare funding, for instance, centered on issues of data privacy and resource control. Some African governments warn that such arrangements risk turning aid into a tool of influence rather than a balanced partnership. I spoke with Minister Aaron Mutweredi in his capacity as South Africa Minister of Health, asking whether South Africa would consider accepting similar U.S. health funding.
No, South Africa is not going to sign, no. And I was very excited when in Kenya they signed and members of parliament took it up and went to court. And I made to understand the court reversed it. And so that's the type of activism that we want even within SADC and on the whole African continent.
The stance by Zimbabwe and Zambia echoes concerns previously raised in Kenya, where aid-linked agreements have reportedly included clauses on data sharing and access to resources. However, not all countries have taken the same position. The Democratic Republic of Congo recently signed a $1.2 billion health partnership agreement with the United States. U.S. officials say discussions with several other African countries are ongoing, including talks with Nigeria, despite broader concerns being raised. The United States is not alone in expanding its footprint on the continent. China, Russia, and several European nations are also deepening ties through aid and investment, often linked to strategic or resource interests. Analysts say this geopolitical competition adds complexity to the Africa's development path as global powers seek influence across key sectors. The broader question remains whether African nations can structure partnerships that protect sovereignty while delivering meaningful development gains. For News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Now, away from the continent, Taliban anti-aircraft gunners are on high alert in Khost after Pakistan launched widespread airstrikes across Afghanistan. Islamabad's defense minister has declared the neighboring nations at open war. Heavy bombardments struck Kabul and Kandahar until dawn, targeting Taliban power bases. Returnee camps were also hit, forcing civilians to flee as surveillance aircraft continue to circle overhead. Taliban officials claim 55 Pakistani soldiers died in retaliatory clashes, while Pakistan reports killing 274 regime members. Both sides remain locked in a deadly, escalating border conflict.
مجاهدین خو ان شاء الله بخ بیدار والحمدلله مورال ډیر قوي وو که هر طرف سره واخلې په ټول سرحد کې چې مرابطې شته ان شاء الله مجاهدین بخ بیدار وو او مقابل طرف ته دښمن ته درانه ځانونه اوښتي دي مجاهدینو خواته مخ طرف ته هېڅ ځان هم انشاءالله کوي بیخي کم به وي او ولس ټول ته ډاډ ورکوو انشاءالله چې موږ د هېواد او دین د ساتنې لپاره شپه ورځ اماده وي انشاءالله.
الحمدلله ډېر خوندور کار وسو. مجاهدین ماشاءالله ډېر بیداره دي، ډېر ښه مورال لري. دښمن ته ماشاءالله ښه تلفات واوښتو. که بیا دښمن داسې تېروتنه وکړه آینده کې بیا به هم دغسې انشاءالله دغسې ورسره ډزوو، بیا به هم دغسې کوو انشاءالله.
بیګا شپه ډېر حالات خراب وو، ډېر ټانګ ټینګ و، جنګونه وي، ټوله کاډه ووتلی د امنځي کاډ کې تازه خپله روان یم، دغه یې سامان دی د امبور کړی دی روان یم. نو کوم بال بچ وړه ماشومان چې دي هغه مې بیګا وړي دي، صرف د کمباله د شیانو کار بیره.
Now, still in the Middle East, clashes have flared near the Tokham border crossing, putting civilians at risk along the Afghanistan-Pakistan frontier. Heavy gunfire and shelling resumed Friday morning, wounding several Afghan returnees sheltering near the border. A mortar struck a refugee camp, injuring at least 7 people, including women and children. Witnesses described panic as families fled, leaving behind documents and belongings. Afghan troops moved towards the frontier amid continuing exchanges of fire.
मामले का हल नहीं है और इसको सफारतकारी के जरिए हमें हल करना चाहिए. अफगानिस्तान हमारा मुसलमान मुल्क है और हम कभी भी नहीं चाहेंगे उससे जंग हमारी हो, लेकिन अफगानिस्तान को भी इस बात का सोचना चाहिए कि अपनी वो बाउंड्रीज क्रॉस ना करे और एक लिमिट में रहे, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान कभी भी अपनी जो सॉवरेनिटी है उस पर सौदेबाजी कभी नहीं कर सकता.
पाकिस्तान बड़ी देर से सोच रहा था भाई अफगानिस्तान पे हम अटैक ना करें. जब हमारे वो आकर दुश्मनों को बातों पे क्या करते हैं, हमारे पे हमले किए उन्होंने, हमारी पाक फौज की चौकियों पे किए हैं, हमारे नौजवान शहीद किए. हमने बार बार उनको ये एक ही दफ़ा मैसेज दिया था भाई आप हमारे साथ नहीं करें, हमारे मुल्क के लिए नहीं करें, और रात को जैसे पाकिस्तान ने जवाब दिया.
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has unveiled the organization of Invest in Lagos Summit 3.0, the state government's flagship international investment platform for the year 2026, in partnership with the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. Speaking at the media conference, Sanwo-Olu stated that Invest Lagos 3.0 has been deliberately designed to consolidate Lagos's role as Africa's leading sub-national gateway for capital flows, trade integration, financial innovation, and infrastructure development. According to the governor, beyond capital attraction, the summit is structured to drive sustained private sector investment that expands gross domestic product and strengthens internally generated revenue for Lagos State and Nigeria.
When you bring in investment like this, they're not putting under anybody's table. They're going to be creating jobs. It is jobs, jobs, jobs. You're going to be ensuring that the jobs are also created at various levels, both at the large-scale level of a construction company to a micro level, to the young people that are entrepreneurs. It's when you build those facilities that are digitally enabled that they can come and utilize those kind of facilities, build for them.
And that is all we have for you on the 6th edition for today. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories. We brought you a report on the trial of suspects that has been stalled after the 7th and 8th defendants appeared without legal representation. And we told you that Bauchi State Governor Mohammed has cried out, saying insecurity is overwhelmed by forest bandits. And the Taliban claimed that 55 Pakistani were dead amid widespread airstrikes. Now remember, you may send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. Thank you so much. My name is Chisom, and I'll see you next time.